I was just excited about the overall growth in the classroom, like a lot, just so many scholars stepping up 1 or 2 steps.
Yeah, because I think you had like either right at 50%.
Yeah, I think it was
like,
about that.
Or like a little bit over 50%. So that's, you know, like definitely really good growth.
Yeah.
And looking for, I think you're a really strong literacy teacher. So like really looking forward to like seeing even more growth. Now that the classes are acclimated to you and like you're acclimated to them.
Yeah,
so,
now that I know their data for sure.
Yeah, and I think fluency and rate had previously been a struggle.
Yeah.
And I know the team worked really hard on making sure that both fellows and lead teachers were like working together to like do activities around fluency and rate, and making sure that scholars are like doing scooping both in guided reading and in phonics, and also like making sure that I think like for you especially, like ensuring students like read things, go back and read things the fast way and read with expression has gone a long way with their fluency and reading in their class, and just being confident. And it's because I think at first they knew the words, especially like the higher step levels. Like they knew the words. It was just like they really had to focus in on like, I'm just gonna be confident and I'm gonna read like these characters and I'm gonna do this. And you encourage them to do that a lot. Also just really impressed with Brandon. I know that Miss Jones worked with him too, but like I think again like teamwork is always great, and he's smiling, he's not in trouble as much.
No, he's doing so well.
Yeah, just because he is able to read and do his work. So so kudos to you for everything you're doing for second grade. I think the class is going well. And what about areas that you feel like need to be improved in reading?
I definitely think some of the more specific, like what we went over in our O3, like the modeling of how to answer a question. And I think even some of like the comp lessons go into that a little deeper, like how to go into text. And so and that's what we talked about. So like finding specific text evidence and just like making it really rote for my kids how they're doing that. I'm getting them on a good, like they're doing really well. My higher kids are doing really well with race right now. But I still think like going back to the text and finding concrete evidence is still a little bit of a struggle for them. So I think just modeling that more clearly. Yeah,
and I practice that I focus on reading with Angela and Lauren. And I shared a document that I had about just like how to set them up for those models, and practice that, and we'll talk about that too. I'll share with you, and we'll talk about that in your O3s for literacy. Because I feel like they're on the right track. Like when we look at their answers, like they're on the track. We just have to like work to like show them like how to get that really specific
absolutely.
as a team. So so I just feel really confident about reading. And then like if we switch over to math, like there were still like highlights. I think your analysis was really strong. First of all, I appreciate the fact that you thought about things that you could do as a teacher. Like I saw highlighted specifically, I can address this in math meeting. Just the times a day when you can do things to like hold yourself accountable for it, I think was really strong. Also, I feel like you did a good job of just owning the data, or like owning the point of like, what can scholars do to get this right? So like, I want scholars to like get these steps to be able to get these questions right. Was an important thing to do, and that's important to keep in mind, especially as you reteach the lessons. Like you know your criteria for success. Like scholars are successful when they can do these 4 things. So focusing on that as you do like all of your reteach plans over the next unit is especially strong. And what about what do you think led to like the successes for math? I mean, you had strong objectives like fluently adding and subtracting within 100, mentally adding and subtracting. What do you think led to those successes?
I think just like clear modeling during lessons and being consistent with the ways that modeling has happened. Like I was very consistent with how modeling happened. I also thought, I don't know, students having a lot of at-bats helped. So there was, I would reteach things. I would find like if we just needed to redo a lesson, I would just like print it out again and be like, all right, this is what we're going with. So I think just the repetition.
Yeah, and I see like some of these can be addressed like, and you could address them in math meeting, and things like that. So you know, like the mentally adding and subtracting, like they can be addressed like many points.
Sure, yeah.
So I think like all of that led to just strong data in those areas. For the areas to improve, like there's like quite a bit to improve, and I know. So I'll say like I definitely recognize your efforts in like reading and math, and I've seen you in the afternoon like with the clear models. Like I do feel like your models are clear, like you're very much sticking to the key points. I do feel like behavior was a challenge at the beginning, but I feel like that's also coming along too, and I feel like your data will be stronger, in part because the classroom culture is strong and the models are strong. But there are like still just some things to like think about tightening up with,
absolutely.
you know, just teaching for all of the areas to improve because the data wasn't where we needed to be with the amount of scholars. I think the achievement of 75% above was it the 50s or the 40s? And like
I believe,
I believe it was pretty low, like the amount of scholars achieving at 70 or 75 or above, and we definitely want to move that number up. Sure. And I think we can. I think you've highlighted the right objectives. You have the strong plan. And I also think for your reteach plan, you picked the right lesson. Okay. Because I saw that you picked comparing the 2 and 3 digit numbers. And then I see you have the other right areas to improve. So just to speak quickly, like your next lowest area of data was addition and subtraction word problems. We're going to be doing some PD on that.
As Angela said,
Yeah, so that will be nice. And I have some more resources that Drew actually sent to me recently, and I'll forward that to the team.
Awesome.
And what about some other, like we're going to dive into the compare 2 and 3 digit numbers, but as far as like these other objectives, what are some things you think you can do just in your regular
just
practice?
On the screen. Do you have them pulled out?
Yeah, I do.
So we're probably going to be comparing. Oh, adding up to 4 is that's a tough one. I'm thinking that was morning work for this week, and so I think that helped. But I think like even being more intentional about that, like maybe like pushing a little bit into family meeting and like after doing the morning work, like debriefing it, I think is going to be really important because I haven't been like getting to that as much as not as much as I would like to. Measuring I had for math meeting, and then adding and subtracting is going to be in. It has been in morning work every day, so I think again that's a morning work thing that I can like debriefing on that and repeating that strategy that they already know. The hundreds I've been doing during math meeting, like working with tens and hundreds, and same with skip counting.
Yeah, because I know y'all are working with money right now.
Yeah, so that helps,
like everyone's like working on skip counting, so like definitely like having these things already embedded in your plan and doing this will actually help move the data. I want to focus today on the reteach plan for the comparing 2 and 3 digit numbers. And I can reshare this with you so you can look at your feedback.
Cool. Sounds good.
Let's see. While I'm sharing that, I'll share like the positives for the plan. Oh, not this. I didn't want to reshare that. I wanted to reshare the actual raw data thing. That's the wrong document. Here we go. No, it's not the wrong document. So if we go down, so the plan was you had like a strong plan overall. I think what is especially strong is this model. And I put notes in here. The steps are very clear for comparing the 2 and 3 digit numbers. I like the fact that first they look at the number on either side of the symbol and compare the numbers, and that you're very specific by saying that they started to look in the hundreds, because the largest error that they had was not realizing that pretty much 100's place rules.
Right, exactly.
They like if they saw 399 and 400, they would think 399 was larger just because they see the 2 nines. So making them like look at each place value and like making it very concrete by having them do the procedure of like underlining the larger number in the hundreds, and if it's the same, like you even said, if it's the same, I do not underline either one. I have to look at the tens place. So you have them like go through each step, like looking through each value, in each place value in the number. and then like they know that when they find the number that's the greatest, like that is a number that is larger.
Yeah.
I also like that, like after they identified that, you have like another step. I see if the symbol is correct, because they have to make sure the symbol is correct in order to pick the two two sets.
Correct options,
yeah. And if one number is larger, the inequality should, and I like the fact that you use the academic language, the inequality symbol should have his mouth open towards the large number. It's trying to eat the large number because it's hungry. So you still made it fun, but you like use the academic language. Like I've seen people like say, like, I don't really like the little alligator.
The teeth, that's too much.
Yeah, it's too much. They're in second grade, they're going to third grade, they need to know their, they need to know vocabulary.
Yeah.
So I think that's great too. And then you say, you tell them if the correct symbol is being used, circle it. If it's not, I cross it out. So I think like these are very clear steps.
Okay.
What I would like to see like for your feedback is making sure that these clear steps reflect in the listening task and the debrief.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I saw like how they kind of they not really mismatched, but like the language wasn't the same.
Okay, I got you.
So let's look at it specifically and let's see if you can see what is maybe not the same.
Okay, so for the listening task, it says, so if we're looking at the model. So I guess I would like, if you're looking at the steps, like what do I look at first? What place value do I look at first? The hundreds. And then what do I do if one of the hundreds is larger? Then I know that that's the largest number, I underline it. If they have the same hundreds, what do I need to do? I need to go on to the next place value, which is the tens place. And then I guess like repeating that kind of questioning for going through the hundreds, tens, and ones.
Yeah, I think it's that sequential language of like using, like in your model, you said first.
Yeah,
I do. So I think the same thing needs to be in the note-taking, in the listening task.
Gotcha.
Like while I'm working, pay close attention to what I do first. Then what do I do next?
Okay.
If the numbers are the same.
Cool.
And then like for the debrief, when you're thinking about what did I do like for my model, so what exactly do you want them to say when they debrief the model? What is the exemplar response?
Oh, okay, I got it. So when they're debriefing the model, I would say I'm comparing two numbers. First, I looked in the hundreds place to figure out what so I looked at two numbers to try to figure out which number was larger. I started by looking at the hundreds place and comparing the hundreds place of the two numbers. If that didn't tell me which number was larger, I looked at the tens place to see which number, and that would tell me which number was larger. If that didn't tell me, I would look at the ones place, and that would tell me which number is larger. After finding the large number, I would underline it. Then, next,